of strings. And so whenever he was changing strings, he was just selecting what he wanted.
Custom sets.
Yeah.
Tell me why he liked the light strings like that. Now, a lot of people don't realize that people played light strings. Eddie Van Halen played 9 through 40 Fender Bullets, and it was common to play light strings back then.
Yeah.
Why did your dad like that extra light?
Well, I think it's really easy to play rhythm guitar.
Yep.
And also, he liked to bend strings, and he didn't want to work that hard.
Right. Like B.B. King would say.
Yeah.
I didn't want to work that hard.
But the thing about it is, people say, oh, well, light strings is always going to sound thin.
Not
you can
true.
make it sound good on anything,
Absolutely.
It just really depends. The one thing is you can't use a very heavy pick with a light string because it will make it go more out of tune.
But you have 8s on here, right?
Yes.
What gauge pick do you use?
Right now, this is more like what Van Halen used. It's like super thin. I mean, you can see.
What is going on here?
I did not realize that Eddie used picks that thin like that.
Yeah, he used a different shape. I switched to the bigger shape because it was like
go.
a little bit easier for me to hold
Sorry
on
about
to.
that, folks. I don't know. That's the second time that's happened to my stream here in like 24 hours. So bear with me. I apologize. We are still stringing up this SG, and we're still taking care of it, and we're still watching Rick Beato with Dweezil Zappa.
For rhythm, this is kind of
That's like a shape Gambale uses.
Yeah. So that's good, and it's also good because you have 3 different sides, and also if you do pick slides, it eats them
then
up.
Then you just turn it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, when I first met Edward, I was surprised too because the picks were super thin, like you could snap it in half.
Okay.
But they're great for pick slides. They're way better than anything else. So like if we could test it, if you have any other picks around, we could do pick slides, and you could see.
Hold on.
Yeah, we could test some different ones.
Oh, I only have nylon picks in here, Dweezil.
I kind of love how accommodating Rick Beato is with all of his guests on here. Like, super accommodating. Like, I'll go grab you a pick right now just so we can try out this pick slide experiment, which I think is so cool.
Well, we can try one. Yeah.
I don't know if those are heavy or not.
It's
I like
pretty
to use
heavy.
light picks too.
Yeah, this is probably like a just about a stand.
And just quickly, I just wanted to say apologies to anybody that might have been in on the stream earlier. That's the second time now that my OBS is messed up in that way, so I've had to restart the stream. So welcome on in and sit back and enjoy. We are restringing this Epiphone SG this evening for a gig, and we're watching some Dweezil Zappa and Rick Beato, just listening to everything SG oriented today on the stream. Hello from Brazil, Rodrigo Brandeo. I hope I'm saying that right. I see an A and an O at the end, so it could just be Brando. Who knows? But welcome on in, Rodrigo. My name is Jordan. This is the channel where we talk about guitar. Sometimes I play original and cover songs. But today I'm getting ready with this Epiphone SG. I have a gig this evening, so it needs to be restrung. And it's also quite dry on the fretboard. So we're just doing some maintenance today, watching some Rick Beato and some other SG related stuff. Welcome on in, and yeah, enjoy.
Standard heavy, maybe?
Yeah. That's a heavy for sure.
Okay, yeah, this one's definitely way heavier. All right, so pick slides. Let's start with heavy. Let's just see how this goes. All right.
That's awesome.
So. That's the less heavy.
Way more top end. Oh, yeah.
Way better.
Way better. Okay, what is the proper way to do a pick slide? The left-hand slide is important.
Yeah, it's.
You imagine just like, man, this is another reason why 13-year-olds or anybody that's starting off guitar is like so much further ahead of the game that I'm so jealous. You imagine like learning. Let's put this into perspective. My equivalent to watching this video was getting a Guitar World Legends magazine that they would put out like once a season. And my education, this version of my education was reading that. And today we get to learn the proper way of doing pick scratches, which is absolutely insane. Back in my day, it was just like, do it until it sounds good, you know? Do it until it sounds good. Just gonna check on my connection here. Looks like everything's good. Yeah, that's insane. Like, I used to like, how do you pick scratch? And you just have like a Guitar World magazine to kind of like decipher this. And meanwhile, today, if you're learning, you can learn how to properly do a pick scratch. It's
part of it. I mean, that's the way the Van Halen pick slides go.
Okay, so let's.
So, like, a pick slide is really dependent on
Total
the
boomer
tone
moment
that
there
you
for me.
have,
Yep.
and you'll know if you have a good tone for a pick slide if you can already just hear it doing this stuff.
Yeah.
If you're not really hearing enough of that detail, it's not going to sound good.
Right.
You know, it'll sound more like that kind of sound, which is not as cool as.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's like a jet engine, you know?
Yes.
So, but you get a little bit of
That's
both.
awesome.
You have to like slide and then slide the left hand. But if you do the one where it's the up the neck and
that SG totally looks like a Batman kind of like style SG. Definitely gives me like Dark Knight vibes. Not sure about anybody else, but that is a very, very cool guitar.
then back down, like, you know, that's the way, you know?
I love that.
So that's what sounds good. But look at how beat up that is already.
yeah.
You know, it's like, if you zoom in on that,
Yeah, that is
you know,
really.
that's why you saw Ed with like 1 million picks on his guitars, because he
Yes.
was constantly throwing them out. Because if you suddenly start playing that way, it'll catch on the string.
I'd like to take a second to talk to you about this channel. Believe it or not, 57% of the people that watch here regularly are not subscribed. So I would encourage you to hit the subscribe button now. This will help me get even more of my dream guests in the future. Thank you.
Dweezil, when did you meet Eddie?
When I was 12 years old, and I had just started playing guitar. And I had really been fascinated with the guitar because my dad, obviously, great guitar player. So I loved watching him play, but I always knew you had to know stuff to be able to play what my dad played.
We're getting down to the nitty gritty
the
here,
standard
folks.
stuff.
We're getting down to these little death traps. These barbed wires, which are my least favorite on gig day, because you get one poke on the fret hand and it's over, dude. You feel like life's over, and then you have a couple beers, and then the world keeps moving.
Style of guitar playing by any stretch.
Right.
So I didn't immediately visualize, oh, I could do that. But when I heard Van Halen, it was so guitar specific
Yes.
that in my mind, I could focus on exactly what that was. I could hear every little nuance, and I just was obsessed with.
Hey, here's a question, chat. Who in your opinion would be like a modern day Van Halen? Anybody? Do you guys have like your version, the 2025 version of Van Halen? Anybody have that out there?
The sound that was coming out of the speakers. So I had been listening to Van Halen. So this is another thing. Like before I met him, I only heard my dad's music or whatever he was listening to growing up. So when I started to hear the radio, I was probably about 12 years old, and I would hear my friends what they were listening to, or we'd actually listen to something in the car. And at the time, hard rock was the biggest music in the world. So it was on the radio, and I was obsessed with that, and Randy Rhoads, who played with Ozzy Osbourne. So, you know, I've been listening over and over, hours, all the time, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, the phone rings at the house. It's like maybe 8 o'clock at night on a school night, and it's a guy saying it's Edward Van Halen. Now, at this point in time,
Dude.
we'd have no idea. This could just be anybody saying it's Eddie Van
Right,
Halen.
yeah.
And there's no
There's no
way
caller
that.
ID or anything
Right,
like that.
but we also don't
You
know what
imagine?
Edward Van Halen sounds like
Right.
because there's no interview footage.
That's right.
Unless you ever heard him on the radio or maybe a clip of, some TV show that would have a musician on. It was just really rare. This
Yeah.
is 1981 or 82. I think it's 1982. It's a guy saying it's Eddie Van Halen, and my mom says, "Oh, get on the phone and on the other line." You know, back then you had house phones, right? So you could pick one up in the other room and listen in. And she's like, "See if you can tell if it's him." And I'm like, "How am I going to know if it's him?" You know,
All
the
right.
only reference I had was on Unchained. Somebody talks to Dave, and I'm like, "It could be Dave. I mean, it could be the producer, it could be Ed." But somebody says, "Come on, Dave, give us a break." And I'm like, does it sound
All right.
like that? I don't know, ever seen. And I couldn't believe that I had just been listening to music, and then out of nowhere, he's coming over, right? So he walks in, and he's got this purple guitar that has a piece of tape over the headstock, because at the time he wasn't letting anyone know that he was endorsing this guitar.
Okay.
But it was a purple Strat, and it had 2 humbuckers in it.
Okay.
So that was unusual.
Yeah.
So it turns out that it was a Kramer, you know. He comes into the studio, and he plugs in the guitar, and I'm just standing there like, oh, this is gonna be amazing, you know. And it's like having your own toy Eddie Van Halen, because I'm like, I'll make my Eddie Van Halen play Eruption and Mean Street, and you know. And so he ends up plugging in, and I'll never forget it. He turns the volume on, and this is the first thing.
Dude.
That was just like his opening salvo.
Okay.
And I had never seen the open strings or any of that stuff, the way that he did that or where his fingers were. And he had this thing, he very specifically
chat.
used his
I need
pinky.
your help on something.
And
I think I'm gonna take the plastic off the pick guard. What do you guys think about plastic off the pick guard on the SG? Is it time? Is it time to take this off? Is it time to take it off? I don't know. Is it bubbling enough? Is the SG bubbling enough? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But I think that the SG, I think it might be time to take the plastic off. How in the hell did I do this? Gosh, streaming is hard, guys. Don't do it. I think I'm going to take the plastic off the SG. And I need to take some lemon oil as well. Some of this bad boy. I can't believe how... I honestly don't know how long I've had this. But this is how much I have left of it. I can't recall whenever I bought this. I've had it for a very, very long time. You can tell because this thing is dirty as hell. But I think it might be time to peel the plastic off. We're going to do it. We're friggin' doing it, guys. We're taking the plastic off here. I'll show you guys. We're taking it off. This is sacrilege. I've had this guitar for probably like 5 months and I haven't done it yet. Look how satisfying this is. This is for all the ASMR people out there. I'm not sure if they like longer tugs or if they like the shorter sporadic stuff. This is ASMR actually drives me fucking nuts. This is not enjoyable for me. Way of strings, and we do not want that. I'm just gonna take the bridge off completely for a second here. There you go, one fresh bridge from Epiphone. Oh gosh, they really didn't spare any expense on the plastic wrap, that's for sure. All right, that seems pretty good.
And so, you know, a lot of people might do this kind of thing, but
Yeah.
he very specifically used his pinky for stuff. So I was like visually like, okay, gotta use pinky, gotta do this, gotta do. And I watched and I listened for the sound. But the thing about Edward and the thing about a lot of great guitar players is it doesn't matter what they're plugged into. They just sound like what they sound like on the instrument. They could be just completely playing it unplugged.
All
and
shall
he's
be
still gonna
revealed
sound
eventually.
Exactly like Edward. Not everybody can do that.
But now we get to do
not
the
everybody
best
has
part,
a
really.
personality that comes through.
And we're gonna put
when
the
they
strings
play.
on now.
They might have to get it from a sound. You know, they might have to use effects. You know, you got a guy like the Edge who makes great sounds and stuff. But if he didn't have all the effects on, I don't know that you would notice.
Alrighty.
If he's.
Well, folks, I haven't said anything. I just want to say thank you guys for popping in. My name is Jordan Matchett. We are doing some streaming today. I'm putting on some new strings on my guitar. I have a gig this evening at my local Eagles Club. This is an Eagles Club for all the Americans out there. I know that you guys have a lot more clubs down there than we do up here in Canada. But yeah, playing at the local Eagles Club in my community tonight, and we're just getting the guitar ready. I'm at the point now where I'm going to be putting some of this beautiful, beautiful... but I don't have any paper towels, so here's Dweezil, and I'll be right back.
Really playing anything that you could recognize.
Right.
You know, especially unplugged.
Right.
You know, but anyway, I had him play all these things, you know, and so I saw him do this whole thing. And so I was like, well, that's how you do that, you know. And then he went into the eruption thing. So that little bit with the open string.
Yeah,
But you have to have the muting here, and I saw that he was picking like this. And, you know, there's a big thing about...
Would he always pick like that?
No, a lot of times, but not always.
All right.
Because you see him on certain
Sometimes I
rhythms.
see him like that, but when he does this tremolo, I always saw him use the middle
one
finger.
more
Yeah,
thing.
but there's a real big difference when picking like this, because here's a good example. If I play Ain't Talking About Love and I play it,
Also, if you are Canadian, I'm digging through my toolbox right now, and I'm gonna try and share. We'll just see what. I have a couple boxes full of tools here. See what we pull out. I don't go through these boxes of tools that often, mostly because I hate doing maintenance on my own instruments, but these things I swear by. As a Canadian who plays both electric and acoustic instruments, this plus this equals real good stuff. If you live in a dry, or you're you know, you don't have like a cigar room or anything like that in your house, these humidipacks from D'Addario are the truth. They have saved my bacon across Canada. It's not just an Arctic Iceland up there. A lot of people should know this, but the West Coast is pretty damp and the East Coast can be pretty dry. And there's a lot of swinging with climates and stuff like that. D'Addario humidipacks, they're the best. Get them. I'm just looking for a toothbrush, because sometimes your fretboard can get pretty greasy, and I just like to give it a nice little brush around the frets just to make sure that they're, you know, they got some love, and that all the dirt and grime and stuff like that is away from there. And for anybody that's just tuning in, my name is Jordan Matchett. I am a Canadian singer-songwriter and performer. I write songs and I sing covers here on Sunday mornings, or at 10 o'clock in the morning on Pacific Standard Time. But today we are watching SG-oriented videos, and we're just giving this Epiphone SG some love and getting it ready for a gig this evening. And right now we're watching Dweezil Zappa on Rick Beato.
normal. Yep.
Welcome in.
Now I'm going to hold it different. The palm muting is totally different. The articulation is totally different. So, versus, so it's a huge difference, and it really is like you have more of a plucky motion, and then you have all this extra ability to mute because your hand is in a different spot. So all of that makes a big difference when you're trying to play in a way that sounds like Edward's playing.
Were you asking him, hey, what are you doing there? Or were you just sitting right next to him and just watching?
So yeah, I would ask him stuff, and he would play it, and then he would show me.
That'd be so sick to just ask Edward Van Halen whatever you wanted.
For
That'd be
less
insane.
than a year at that point, you know. But I was trying to do little things, and that I heard from the records.
If I was in Dweezil's shoes at that point, I would have been like a true recreation of like Chris Farley meeting Paul McCartney on Saturday Night Live. Like it would have been just like that. It'd be like, so you're in Van Halen, huh?
And so he would show like how he did the tapping. Now I ended up not doing it exactly the way he did because
Alrighty, we're now applying the Dunlop 65.
Like this kind of up.
And any guitar players that are in the chat, if you guys have a better formula than Dunlop 65, let me know. I'm always up for trying new stuff. Not married to anything except for the game.
Word. But I pushed down that way. He plucked and pulled up.
Interesting.
Yeah, so versus. So there's a slight touch difference, but for me, like in terms of my own playing, it was just easier to get the note to ring out if I pulled down versus pull up. But he pulled up, and if you watch Wolfgang, he pulls up too.
Right.
So that's you know,
That's the Van Halen way.
that's the family way.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a guy that picked
The
every
family
note.
way.
He just had finesse about how he did everything with the rhythm and with the note choice and the vibrato. It was all about a personality and a voice on the instrument versus
Sorry,
just
folks.
technique,
Didn't mean to bump that
because
mic.
it wouldn't have mattered to him if he picked every note. You know, he had a lot of things that were hammer on, pull off, you know, somewhere, anywhere in between. And he had this percussive ability in his playing to make things just, I don't know, they just grab you with it's the personality that is
Yeah.
there. You can't define it unless it's
I don't know too many guitar, like, what are some guitar players, chat, that in the past, like, 10 years, you know who that guitar player is? I can only think of, like, Joe Bonamassa, but would we even consider him the past 10 years? He's had a pretty lengthy career, right? Who are some, like, recent guitar players that you just know who it is as soon as you guys hear it? I'd like to know. Tell me in the chat.
so natural for him, it's not even a thought. Like when he's playing his music, it sounds the way it does because he's just like a puppy running in a field. It's like that easy for him to play that stuff. It wasn't, you see him, he's jumping, he's doing all kinds of stuff. It was not hard for him to play the songs because it's like, that's just how it goes.
He uses some really unique notes, the like half-step things that that a lot of people do not use. Just even an eruption, like when you go to the first part.
I definitely think that Edward Van Halen's take on the guitar, especially being like a classical piano trained kid, because his dad made him take piano first, for a lot of people that don't know. So I think that his piano prowess really came in and influenced his guitar playing in a huge way, personally. And you can definitely hear that by, again, how creative he is, what modes he's using, his mixture and love of minor scales and minor arpeggios. That stuff, particularly like in the 80s stuff, I hear that all over Edward's playing.
Where you go up.
Oh yeah, the high part, yeah.
Yeah, the high part. So
yeah, if you think of just regular pentatonic, like here's just, you know, A minor, right? And then the next version of pentatonic would be the major, right? But F sharp, he would look at it as. So what he did was he just took both of those and he put them on one string. So you got, and so now you get into this area.
All right. Give that a minute to chill and moisturize. Look at this.
And then he has things that he would do like.
Just a nice wet fretboard,
So
you know?
this, that kind of thing. That's where you're talking about, like the weird half steps.
yeah.
Dude, that sounds so sick.
That kind of stuff is where he really turned everybody.
Does anybody know what kind of strings Dweezil's using? Those things look so much like acoustic guitar strings. It's unreal. Does anybody see this? Or am I being crazy?
His ear, like, because it's notes that you're like, well, that's not right, but it sounds great.
The first unison bend of the high part of it. Right there.
Yeah.
Dude, that swing stuff is so good.
So that is.
He was the first guy that I really heard that did stuff like that.
Yeah, because that's like mixed
Yeah.
meridian, right?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And so, but he's like.
Dude, that stuff's so
band
sick.
right there is totally unusual.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and that's another thing where, like, he would scrape across the strings. That was another part of his playing, like a
Demonetized. I think he
overlooked
uses
part
tens.
where
Okay.
He had these rakes.
Welcome in. Hey, Demonetized. Welcome in, buddy. We're just we're getting this SG spruced up and ready for tonight's performance. I'm playing at my local Eagles Club. If you're an American, you should probably know what that is. But yeah, pretty sweet. I'm looking forward to it. I just got done doing some moisturizing, because every guitar should be properly moisturized. But yeah, I understand that he probably uses tens, but like, look at the top string. Those look like acoustic guitar strings, right? That's what those look like.
That kind of thing is in his playing a lot, but
Like, we can do a comparison, but whenever I open up these D'Adarios, there's going to be no gold colors on these strings. So, what's up, Dweezil? Tell us the secrets, man.
That's a nuance that people miss, right?
It's one of the little small details,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm
Of course he has his... Oh, he has Frank Zappa strings. Holy. You have a gig tonight too? Awesome. Demonetized, man. I hope that you have a fantastic gig. I hope that lots of people come out, and I hope that you have a blast playing to them, brother. Hope that you have a great time. That's awesome. Friday night's all right, huh?
struggling to play a little bit on this because the strings are so low on this that like.
Okay.
Did he have a higher action?
Good to know.
than that?
Thanks for
slightly
popping in
higher
today, brother.
than what's on here.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, the next little bit, if I show you the notes.
Hey, Demonetized, I just took the wrapper off the pick guard. What do you think? I've had the guitar since like literally October in my possession, and I finally took it off. Killer venue too? Drop the venue in the chat. Let people know where you're playing, brother.
He does that little thing.
If you want, no pressure. You don't have
picks
to.
You know, so it's like, so some of it's a hammer-on and some of it's pick.
Dude, that's so
That's
sick.
that part, but it's these two shapes, and he's really a shapes player.
Yeah.
So you got, and then,
That's awesome.
and then,
That's the first thing that goes. Yeah, no doubt. I don't know why it took me so long to get around to taking it off. It was a rental at one point, but then I was like, fuck, I've had it for so long that I should probably just get the damn thing, and then I'll just take my time and modify it. I'm thinking about sticking a Telecaster lipstick pickup in the middle between the two humbuckers. What are your thoughts?
it goes into the other weird little bit.
In Baltimore? That's awesome, dude.
So
Fuck
this
yeah.
is the string cross, and this is
Yes.
the hardest thing. That right there, you could also play it here. So,
Hell yeah, dude. Good for you.
but he did it on a string cross. So,
Oh,
you know,
look at that.
there's an edge.
I have not taken off these strings also. So this is the first time I've taken this thing off at all. This is like, I'm kind of getting to know her right now. And I'm undressing her in front of all you guys, so make of that what you will. But yeah, this is a dirty girl. That's just the first 5 frets, folks, right there. Don't forget the plastic. The plastic on the truss rod cover is off. I don't think I took that off. This was a rental from Long and McQuaid at one point. Which Long and McQuaid, for anybody with that's in Canada, is a musical retailer, and people love them because you can make payments on their stuff pretty forgivingly, actually. But yeah, so this is the first time I've taken this thing apart. I'm just gonna give it a nice wipe down. I'm not doing anything crazy with it. We moisturize the fretboard. I'm just gonna put new strings on it, and then we'll play it at the end, and go from there. But yeah, thanks for popping in. Yeah, I'm thinking about putting. If I'm gonna go full out on this, I'm probably gonna put a Bigsby on it just for fun. And definitely get rid of these pickups. The pot already, the CTS pot, like the pickup selector, is total trash. If I have it on the middle selector, yeah, it is a crapshoot. Hey, really depends, and I'm not sure how chambered out this body is either. So could be a crapshoot. But yeah, I'm definitely feeling a Bigsby vibe on this sucker. If I really wanted to, and if I really wanted to save up my pennies, I probably would have gotten like the SG60s one with half the pickguard on it. I really like the half pickguard look on the SG instead of the full thing. But yeah.
To it when you do the string cross, and he can phrase it differently versus. It just sounds a little bit.
I really do
less
like how
nuanced.
Frank
So
just
the
put up a
hard
mirror
part
for a
is
pickguard
getting
on the
that
SG.
string
That
cross.
I was saying earlier in the stream, this thing like is giving me like severe like Dark Knight Batman vibes. That guitar, it's so freaking cool, and it has like this element of mystery without looking like. It also looks pretty metal without looking like a full-blown ESP or a Jackson model or like a reissue of some bullshit. Like, Yeah. Doesn't ESP make like an SG that's called the Viper? I'm pretty sure. But that doesn't look like a Viper at all. That looks like a homemade guitar, really, except for the Gibson for the Gibson headstock.
Because it's a very strange little short bit.
It is, the S does stand for solid, but I'm pretty sure that Les Paul also made the S stand for super guitar. So I think that's actually what it originally, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that I watched 5 Watt World and the S actually stands for super guitar. But I could be wrong, but check it out. I could be wrong, but I also feel like that there's a level of truth to what you're saying as well. Solid guitar. But I feel like that the Les Paul came out before the SG, and that's why it was... But yeah, who knows?
So it's... But it's that little... That's the move right there.
And when it goes into the tremolo picking thing there, he does like a unison thing. And
God, that's... Okay. For some reason, I don't know where I got this from, but I felt like it stood for the super guitar. But thank you for correcting me. That was from Google. Fair enough. Fair enough. If anybody's gonna know, Google will know. But again, if you look at the short history of the Gibson SG on 5 Watt World, I believe, on that channel, you might learn some new information about the SG, because I'm pretty sure that the word super is somewhere involved in there when it came to naming. Not trying to be contentious, but knowledge is power. But feel free to check me out. I just wish that I knew offhand and I could speak with confidence on that.
So, I mean, the thing about playing it on an SG, obviously you can't dive bomb, you know.
right.
So
Dweezil, when you do the pinch arm, it's like the 2nd fret bend on the G string to get that growl.
So you can do it different ways, you know. And that's also, notice the difference between if you play it, you know, move into this area. You would do it like where you get 2 notes at once.
Oh.
But if you hold it this way.
That's incredible. I almost want to, like, I don't even know how to reverse that to the point. But that sounded so cool, because the fact is that he's not moving his fret hand at all. Best ska guitarist, probably the dude from Best Ska Guitarist. I don't listen to a lot of ska, so let's start there. I'm gonna go with the guitar player from No Doubt, who I think his name's Matt, maybe, I don't know. Or we're gonna go with the guitar player from Sublime. The more you know, right? Just found your channel. Cheers, dude. Hey, Mutant Rockstar and AV. Thank you guys so much for popping in. My name is Jordan. This is my channel. I'm a new YouTube channel, so if you guys like what you're seeing, I play regularly on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I play original songs. I create music. I come on here and I do react videos sometimes. I also like to talk about the Canadian music industry and the music industry in general. So if you guys like knowledge and keeping up to date on those kinds of things, and just music in general, pop a subscribe, help a boy out. Not trying to be Mr. Beast or anything like that. Just want to share my experience and my my skill set with you guys, and hopefully make the world a better place and we can all enjoy some music. As far as best ska guitarist, I'm definitely going to say probably the guy from Sublime or the guy from No Doubt.
To this area. You would do it like where you get 2 notes at once. But if you hold it this way, they come out easier, they pop out easier, and it's because what's happening is you're hitting the string with the edge of the pick, and then your thumb is following, and it's creating the harmonic after the strike of the note. So you can get cool things.
What we got? Will you do live banjo setups like the stringing of the SG? Probably not. Probably not.
That's where he does like the horse sound.
Right.
You use the vibrato bar, but you know, those kind of things. But all those little techniques, I mean, even this kind of thing, all those things were so amazing. Like, who was doing that?
Okay, now, did you hear him play with this amp at full blast?
It was pretty loud, yeah, you know.
How loud was it?
It was
Sorry about that, folks.
probably, I mean, because it was in my dad's studio, and it wasn't his.
The correct answer is Dave Wakeling from The Beat. Well, in the words of Mutant Rockstar, the more you know, right? Also prefaced my answer with the fact that I don't know anything about ska, and I don't listen to it, so sorry. I got an old banjo, and getting the bridge set has been a pain. I'm not a banjo player, so that's tough. That radio in the background. This one right here. I'm assuming that's probably what you're talking about, this one, because I don't have a radio in my background. I do have a clock, though, and a BB gun.
Actual amp, he didn't bring his amp. He was playing through one of my dad's Marshalls, and it didn't have as much gain as his.
But would he crank it up?
Oh,
loud?
it was loud. I mean, you know, it was not quite stadium level, but it was, you know, it was healthy.
Set to stun?
Yeah.
If I am thinking of the right thing, doesn't the banjo just have, like, isn't it very similar to that of the violin? Just find a gold tone one, something that's generic. Okay, doesn't take that fucking long to, there we go. Yeah, so you're trying to set this thing? Is that what you're trying to set there, AV? Also pretty funny that you are a ska fan and asking to play the banjo. Makes me wonder if I know who you are in real life. I have a lot of friends that fit this description. As far as setting that, I would recommend watching a YouTube video of a professional banjo setter-upper and go from there. I don't play banjo, so...
It was, you know, I mean, I grew up around rock,
Yes.
you know, so it's like my dad played loud.
What did your dad think of Eddie?
He thought
All
his
right, here we
playing
go.
was amazing. He's actually the guy that
Time to put the strings on.
attributed, is the real quote of Edward Van Halen reinvented the electric guitar came from an interview with my dad, and I think it was Guitar Player magazine in the early 80s. And it is...
Yo, did anybody ever read a guitar magazine in the chat? Anybody? Guitar. It could be Guitar World, it could be Guitar Player, or it could be Premier Guitar if you're from the UK. Anybody in the chat ever grow up reading Guitar World magazines?
It's a very true statement.
Yes.
You know, he really did do things that other people weren't doing. And if you consider how hard it is to do something on a level that is instantly recognizable, you know, within a couple of notes, and it's not necessarily, like for him, it's the sound and the playing style.
Yes. To play in the guitar.
Yeah.
You did it like right when you walked in, you were just warming up and you did this thing, and it's like, yeah, those are really hard to play, those licks.
I don't know, maybe it was this, something like this.
All of the above. Rig rundowns, all that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the rig rundowns myself. John Bollinger, kind of, I don't know, great guy, great attitude all the time. But man, you know, great guy, great attitude all the time. But man, if you played a drinking game where every time John Bollinger said, oh yeah, that's great, man, or that's just awesome, or something like that, dude, you could get wasted real quick. Within one rig rundown, you would be wasted. Test that out at home, but don't do it out in public. But just try it at home.
Yes.
So something like that was born out of a combination of things.
All right, folks, we are going to string up this guitar. There's no ifs or ands or buts about it. It's all moisturized now. We put on our Jim Dunlop 65 formula, and now we're going to get to these sexy bad boys one at a time. My least favorite thing to do, but we're doing it together, and that's what's important. And for anybody that's popping in, my name is Jordan Matchett. Just want to say thank you guys for popping in on the stream today. I'm a new YouTuber. I'm a singer-songwriter and performer based in the beautiful white north of Canada. What do we got here? Ooh, premium woven straps, in case you didn't have one already. Is anybody collecting points? Yeah, this is all. Oh, this will really throw you up if you really hate doing strings. Yeah, Daddario, why don't you throw on all 7 of the fucking strings in a diagram of a 6. This probably gets so many like older guitar players just miffed. They're like, I didn't buy a 7 string. I didn't. I would never buy a 7-pack of strings. Just the same way, I would also never buy a 7-pack of strings. Oh boy, here we go. And they still haven't figured out a better method to this, huh? This is why they're color-coded, they would say. I'm really glad I have this. This makes everything easier. But before we get to that, there is something that we need to explore and mitigate here, which I'm not excited about. As I was taking off the strings of this Epiphone SG today, I noticed that this is a little wiggly, and that cannot be. And just while we're here, we're going to check. Both of these are good. Totally fine. That's good. That's good. That's got a bit of give to it, but can wait till the next string change. And this, so both of the bottom E's are both a little loosey-goosey. And I think we have a tool for that. Praise the Lord. Let's just find out if I actually do, or if I'm just full of shit. But I'm pretty sure that I do have. Or we'll just use a steak knife. That's pretty much, that's what we're gonna do. I bought these off Amazon. They're Chinese, but if you were a guitar player and you're just trying to do your own stuff DIY at home, spend $20 on a little screw set. Do yourself a favor. And when your friends come over and something happens, you might be able to save their bacon right there, which I have also had the pleasure of doing. Alrighty. We got some real small holes here. That's what she said. Let's see if we can find something here. What do we got anyway? These are a 5-star for anybody that cared. This looks like it might fit the bill. Not sure you guys can see that, but I'm hoping that that fits the bill. Doo-doo-doo. All right, Lord. Let's go. Back up that microphone so that way I don't bump into all y'all. Oh, it's kind of working. It's kind of working. It's trying to. It doesn't want to. Okay. You guys ever go blind or feel like you're going blind? Because I just had a blind moment where I thought this was a 5-star, but it is, in fact, a Philips 4 head, I believe. And because that's probably the most popular piece that I often use, I probably don't have it. And that's okay. That is a triangle bit. Should title the stream, Watch Young Man Go Blind. Live on stream. Alright.
Things, because my dad has a lot of melodies that are written with weird rhythms.
It's steak knife time. I honestly don't know what to tell you guys. It's steak knife time.
Are not comfortable on the guitar. Right? So let's say you want to go from this B note to this E note. You have this choice, or you have this choice. Because this is the same note. But picking-wise, it becomes a disaster if you have struggles with the right hand, like most people would.
All right.
So you're either going to do a hammer-on.
You guys ever feel like you just had a great idea and you're about to do something really cool and everything's going to go exactly as you planned it in your mind? Household appliance, often found in the kitchen, or your wife's you know, her bedside dresser. And it also does in a pinch with guitar repairs. Fingers crossed this time, guys. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Turn, 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 turn. Steak knife making it turn, turn so slowly. Probably gonna strip the screw. But what else am I supposed to do? I'm not Stu Mac. I'm not a guitar parts retailer. But we're making it. That's actually a substantial improvement. I'm not even gonna lie about it. All done with a steak knife. Oh, don't trust me with your guitars, folks. I'll use a steak knife on them. I for real got glasses a month ago. It's thrown my perception off in all senses. Well, I suppose if, yeah, that kind of probably makes sense, I suppose. I have been using, because I work in front of a computer so often, these blue lens glasses that make me look like I'm doing safety work, or the safety dance. And they're okay. They're doing all right. I kind of like them because they are not giving me afternoon fatigue after working in front of the screens all morning, which is deeply appreciated. Alrighty, that's a lot better than what it was. It's not wiggling at all anymore. Let's work on the top E. It's really weird because it's not the bottom screw of the tuning peg that's messed up. It's the top ones on both sides. So at least they're going for some amount of symmetry there. Gosh. Come on. And that's also substantially better. We just fixed it. We fixed it. There we go. Now we can go back to our feature presentation of putting these friggin' strings on. How long have I been on stream for? 50 minutes? That's actually not bad. Even if I wasn't streaming, it would still take me about this long.
Or you're going to do a double downstroke or a double upstroke if you're going the other direction, because you can't easily go, especially if you're going to then go to the next fourth. Yes. When something is like this, all the way across, if you had to try to pick that, it's very hard to do at a high tempo, you know. So
it's impossible just about to do it at a high tempo.
This is another old school trick that maybe your grandpa showed you growing up. But if you have tuning stability issues, you can take, that's not going to work great. You can take a piece of lead and you can scrape it against the fretboard. Or against the nut, rather, and that'll help it with the friction of things.
Yeah, so that's where Frank Gabali comes in, and he's got all this economy picking, so he can do double downstrokes or triple or all the way, just like it's almost like he's strumming through chords, and his pick is just going to the note when it needs to, but he's got this unbelievable ability to control that, and there's muting involved, and there's, you know, it's left hand and right hand to be able to make that stuff work. But the thing about what I just played, it came from, like, here
we go.
I learned certain things in my dad's music, like there's a bit from A Kid Is Arf, which has a lot of moving fourths in it. That little passage, you know, it's having me move. But then it goes into this second.
Dweezil, that's so hard to play. That's so clean too. But you're doing economy picking. You're doing sweep picking.
There's a little bit of both in it.
Yes.
But when I do a line like the one I showed you before.
I get wild with intonation being off on my guitars. I don't play like Diesel Zappa, so I don't ever have to have that problem. I'm 12 fret and below. That's where I live, and intonation treats me pretty good up there, unless I'm going up into like the G pentatonic kind of deal stuff. But that doesn't happen that often.
I'm using things that I developed in my playing to be able to play some of those hard lines.
Yes.
But then I started thinking about, well, if I want to play solos that have phrases that are not guitaristic, and I want to play all kinds of notes that sound like if you heard it and you didn't see it, you wouldn't know where those notes were coming from.
Right.
So if you close your eyes and hear, you wouldn't really know how that's being done,
Right.
Because it just sounds
No
like
idea.
they're popping out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But the idea is that it's groups of 5s or 7s that I can mix and match, and it's not necessarily just a stock lick. It's more of like a mode of employment of this technique where I decided at one point, like, okay, if I wanted to play 5 notes, what are the options? I could do standard pentatonic box, right? So that's just 5 notes. Sounds like any other group of 5 that you ever heard, but I thought, well, what if I try to do it like 2 plus 3, which is the same as 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3. Then I
Right.
thought, okay, well, what if I just take the pentatonic box? What could I do in there? And I went. So I figured, okay, that's a cool way to do 5s, but if I wanted to do a 7, I could just add 2 more. So,
it.
and then if you wanted 2 more, you know. So you can just roll through all these different numbers in your head. And I started creating a system where I could build it on, I thought of it as like, why don't I try to learn my phone number? You know, and then when I would teach this to
Don't
people.
give up your phone number right now, Dweezil.
Yeah, but when I would teach it to people, I would teach 8675309. You know, the Tommy Two-Tone
Yes,
song.
yes.
So what I would do is I would show them, okay, like, it's not about a time signature. It's not anything at all other than a number of notes. And so you can play it however you feel it. But this is like if you were going to do the basic version of 8675309, you could have 8, which could be 2 4s. Right? So
Yep.
right here, we'll just keep it all A minor pentatonic. Right? So that could be your 8. Now
Yep.
6 could be 2 3s on 2 strings, right? So, right? So 8 6 7, then I could do a 5 and a 2. So, right now that already sounds like not a guitar lick that you would just pull out of thin air.
Yeah.
But once you start doing this, these are things you can pull out of thin air because you could just start thinking of like, oh, I know these different ways I could do a 3 or a 5 or whatever. We got to the 7, so we need a 5, so we could just do like, how about on 1 string? So there's a cool shift there, like 1 2 1 2 3.
Yes.
So. So now 5 3. I'll keep it going up. Let's say we get to there now. And then 0, you just have to put a pause.
Okay.
And then a 9, let's say it's a 5 and a 4.
Okay.
So if we wanted to do that, we could be like 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. Like that. So the whole phrase could be.
1.
Wow.
So right there is a way to just figure out what notes you could apply within. I just stayed basically A Dorian the whole time right there. And the concept to me was I want to just be able to access 5s, 7s, 9s, 3s, whatever, and flip them around and then see what happens and not have to worry about remembering a lick, but be able to improvise in the moment. Let's say the drummer plays something and I want to play something that sounds like what he just played. I have a better chance of matching something if I know how to group 3s, 5s, 7s.
And drummers play in groupings like that. That's 2s and 3s, things like that, combining them like that.
Yeah, so when it comes to that lick that we did before, I started to flip some of it around where it's like instead of 2-3, it's 3-2. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And then you could do it again. So, but I started mixing them around.
So for anybody that's been noticing me do this, it's because I like a decent amount of slack within my string, and I find that this method here, which I've been doing since I was like a teenager, gives me the optimal amount, I guess, that I like. However, this I believe is a longer scale neck, so we shall see how this fares out for me.
Dweezil, when you're coming back, that you do that upward.
So as soon as you hit the note, I'll exaggerate it, but you're having to do this with your finger, and so there's things that I have to play. Like there's a bit in Punky's Whips. I'll try to play it. It's hard right out of the gate, but one of the things that is crazy is it has all these notes have to be played. But I realized I could actually just do it with harmonics because I wouldn't have to use as much pressure and I wouldn't have to roll through it. So, but the line.
Nice.
So that, when you have to play that and you have to be in time with everybody else, these are all tricky little rhythms, and I would never be able to play it with just standard picking. I have to have a little bit of everything in there. There's other things where I have to even use hybrid picking. Like there's a line from Inca Roads where it's a...
Oh, yeah.
But when you play it on the fast one, it's like... So that stuff is just really hard.
Okay, you figure out these things to work with your particular technique too, right?
Yeah, but also that was never meant to be played on guitar. So a lot of these things that I just played, with the exception of this part, my dad actually did play this. But that's very guitaristic in the way it sets up. It's still awkward picking, but most of the stuff that I learned that's hard is written for marimba or keyboards. And it's already hard on those things, but it's harder on the guitar because it's mostly fourths and other weird things. The worst is when it has an extra note, or where he'll double, like I have a doubled note in the middle of nowhere, like the same note, a unison note, that just trips up everything. I think there's a bit like that in like Montana. Those things are really tricky to get, especially if you only got one shot at it.
Right.
That's
the thing.
We're getting there. Holy smokes.
And if you mess up, you can't get back on. Like these things go by so fast. So it's really hard to get these things. You have to get them, at least for me, I have to get them to a place where it's a muscle memory thing, but even if I've been playing it a lot, there's still a chance I won't hit it. It's like, if you relate it to golf, if you're only going to play to your handicap maybe 20% of the time.
Right.
And that, even if you're like the top level, top, 20% is your ratio.
Right.
So there's a lot of guys that learn things and they practice them, and it's a very, it's almost like a gymnastics routine. And you can get there and you can be that person, but you're not able to then also improvise because you only have what is the written thing that you can just regurgitate. And my dad was not that player. My dad was, he wanted to spontaneously compose.
Your dad was an improviser.
He wanted to react to the music, you know? So I have that struggle where I want to be able to pull off the challenging parts, but I also want to be able to improvise when I can improvise. And so the technical aspect of learning how to do something and then also having a broad enough vocabulary to speak vocabulary.
Yes, I recognize, when I hear those things, I know you're playing.
Yeah, but it's not in other people's playing as much. You know, they're starting to see, you know, some of these things. But there's fun things you can do with weird enclosures. Like, here's something you'd probably enjoy. Like, I can take that same idea and I can say, I'm still thinking about being in A minor, but I'm gonna, the way I like to look at this is, here's all the notes that are in play. And which notes would never be in play? How about these? Right? These right in the middle, and then how about these? So what happens if I try to put those in somehow, and I'll go like, all right, this is in, this is out, these are in. This is out, these are in. So, whoa. So it's like falling down the stairs.
Yeah.
You know? So I like stuff like that, but you can take any shape that you want and just move it around with these. That's the thing that I found is really cool, is that if you have a really strong rhythmic pulse of some sort, if it's like the fives, 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3, you can put any notes you want all the way up the neck until you resolve to where you go, because the rhythm's so strong that people are taking the ride. It's like the wicked roller coaster until you get there. And that is something my dad used to great effect in his compositions and also in his playing. But to build that, it was very tricky because I didn't know the names of any of this stuff. You know, and that's when I was really getting into a lot of this stuff. That's when I saw your videos, like, oh, this is going to help me because I can figure out, like, you know, something like this. And have that just be like, oh, I'm going to play that in the blues.
Right.
You know, but I didn't know what any of it was. I just liked the sound of it. And down here, it was like, oh, it reminds me of Jaws. You know, so, but you were taking apart some of these arpeggios and things, and it was like, oh yeah, it's, you know, it's the root, it's the major third, it's the flat 5, it's the flat 7, and I'm like, okay, that's why I like it, you know, it's got a thing. So, but I sort of put all that to use with different kinds of rhythms, and it's just started to become a sound of my own. But I've been playing guitar now since I was 12, and I'm 55. So I think it only became like a thing for me to have like a recognizable sound like a couple years ago.
Probably more than that, Dweezil.
Well, I don't know. But it's one of those things that, to me, the guitar, as much as I have played it and as much as I enjoy it, I still don't think I know that much about it.
How hard is it to keep up on the songs you're playing in your sets? And do you have to kind of relearn them every time you're going out on tour?
Yeah, so for me, I don't know any other way. On every tour, doesn't matter how much I rehearse, I still have to play probably 2 hours before sound check. We do about a 90-minute or 2-hour sound check. Then I might eat, but I go right back to playing until the second I go on stage, because I have to keep going over the parts for memory, but also for the physical cues. Because here's the problem. I can't hear the music and think of the melody, and like, you know, I can't, some of the melodies are so hard that you couldn't sing them, and I'm not, you know, I'm not able to really play like that, like play what I can hear in my head. Like some people can really do that, like George Benson or something, you know. Yeah. But the cues that I'm getting for my brain to tell me where this thing is that slight motion of where my hand is getting into position. If it doesn't get there, I can't play it.
Right.
And
All right.
not only that, if I'm standing in a different way.
Folks, we are almost done. We have 2 more strings left. Can't believe we made it. It's incredible, isn't it? I feel good about it. And we haven't even broken a string, which is pretty impressive. I have not restrung an SG before in my life, so this has been a wild adventure. Here we go. Here we go. We're almost there. Stick this here right up. Okay. Don't get out of the way. There we go. Oh man, I feel good about this. Here we go. Well, folks, for anybody that's just popping in, my name is Jordan Matchett, and I just want to say thanks for popping in my stream today. I hope that you guys are all having a fantastic Friday wherever you guys are. I'm a new YouTube channel, so if you feel like liking and subscribing, I deeply appreciate that. Trying to get to 100 by my birthday in April, so we'll see how that goes. In the meantime, I do live streams on Sunday mornings where I play live. And sometimes I do react videos, and sometimes I share my frustrations of being a musician with you guys, like right now with stringing up this guitar. There we go. That looks pretty good.
My brain won't recognize that, oh, this part is coming up.
Okay, so how important is it to practice standing up for you, because you're standing up on your gigs?
It is important, and I hate it because I'll end up standing playing for 4, 5, 6 hours, and then my shoulder gets messed up. And so the real struggle with this is that you don't really know how much is being ingrained in what you're practicing if you're not aware enough. So like I said, if I'm standing with my weight on my right side most of the time,
Yeah.
and I'm practicing that way, I can play these parts. If I suddenly shift to my left on stage, I suddenly have the feeling like, where am I? What am I doing? I have to get back on the other side. Or if I have to like step on a button, I sometimes have really fast changes I have to do. So I end up having to stand on one leg, hovering my foot over a button because I know I have to do the thing. But if I am not doing that, I can't play it.
Right.
So it's these weird things, like you got like flamingo stance to play this thing.
Right.
And it's just, it really is weird because like I said, if you fall off the line, you can't get back on. There's just, and that's why when we arrange the music, if there's really hard parts, 2 or 3 instruments play the hard part. Because if somebody drops out, the rest of the line still gets played.
Right.
You know, you can't just leave it to one person. And that's how my dad did it too. It's like, it's all about orchestration for this stuff. Because it's really, really hard. I can't, people think, oh, well, you grew up around it. No, it takes hours all the time, like months. And when I was learning really hard things like the Black Page and other stuff like that, I mean, I would play the hard parts probably 4, 5, 6 hours a day, but it might be something that goes by in 10 seconds. And I'm playing that 6 or 7 hours a day because it's not meant to be played on the guitar.
Right.
You really just have to get to a point where you can make it playable, but it's not something that the average person would go, oh, I get it, yeah, let me give that a shot. It's like, it just doesn't work out that way. Ultimately, on this tour, we've done, I think we have 3 shows left. It's a 30-show tour, and I have not made it through a single show without a mistake.
Okay.
You know, and I've been practicing as much as I'm talking about that's just how hard this
Does your
stuff is.
hand ever get worn out after a while or no?
It does. I get, this gets tight, and then at a certain point, if I'm playing too many fast things, and the problem is I do a lot of stuff that has big stretches.
Yeah.
And I will start to feel it just go, oh, I'm moving through clay right now. It's just not, I have to do something to, because if you relate it to working out, you know, you can't just do infinite pull-ups.
sets. Right,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, of course.
You know, but
All
you
right.
don't think about that when you're playing for 5 hours. You just keep going and going and going.
You know, I've never.
That's the sound of 6 strings on a guitar, folks, that have not been tuned yet. And we've, I feel like we've accomplished our goal today. I got this thing moisturized up. It feels looks a lot better on the fretboard. Remains to be seen how it feels and all that jazz. Might take a little break here and grab some lunch, and then might pop back on for a live stream and break this guitar in, because the strings will need to be broken in, and I need to practice for tonight. So we'll probably do that. I just want to say thanks for everybody that's popped in today, and for anybody that is a new subscriber, particularly Brockta, Cody Rowan, Gumtown. Thank you guys for subscribing and for popping in here today. Thanks to Demonetize for popping in as well. I hope that you have a fantastic gig this evening. Go check him out. I believe he's playing over in Baltimore. Yeah, go check him out. And in the meantime, feel free to subscribe so that you don't miss anything. Like I said, I'll probably be back on in about an hour or so to just break in the strings on the guitar and play along to some backing tracks and get warmed up for tonight. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks, and hope that you guys do well. And that's it. I'm just so relieved that I got these strings on the guitar.